This year, MLB The Show completely changed how the game works, making team building more difficult than ever. So today, we're going to discuss top secrets on how positions work within MLB The Show so you can win more games. Leave a like down below on this video if you guys do enjoy. Subscribe to the channel and let me know what cards you guys are loving right now for your teams. Let's go. Of course, every player is equipped with a primary position. That is ideally where you'd put them, but they've got secondaries, other places that you can play them at a small -4-ish attribute hit on fielding, reaction, and arm accuracy. As lots of you guys know, in MLB 25, secondaries have been extremely restricted compared to previous years. But here's a secret. Getting closer. That doesn't mean anything. With extensive testing, I think we finally have what I like to call the out-of-position Bible. And this is what I've come up with. Outside of primaries and secondaries that the game tells you these players can play, this is where they really can play, expanding their versatility. So nobody out of position can play catcher. If you've tried playing the game before, having a shortstop or a center fielder behind home plate, they will catch some balls, but not many. And if it comes to a point where they've got to try and throw out a base stealer, good luck. Simply put, don't do it. At first base, I think catchers, second baseman, third baseman, and shortstops all can play first just as well as any other first baseman. Now, this is a weird one because way back when, you could put anybody at first base and, they'd be able to catch the balls thrown to them. Pretty simple job, right? But they eventually took that out to where nobody could play first base out of position. Though it seems that's been changed now, as I've played Jose Ramirez at first base, no problems. I played Cal Raleigh, who has no secondary at first base, no problem. He catches everything. Now, I do have to preface, I do think it's possible that they will not catch it sometimes. I would say 90-ish% of balls thrown to them at first they will catch, maybe even more than that. I can name two specific occasions, one of which in a weekend classic game, Scott Rowland, my opponent had him playing at first base. It was a routine ball thrown to him and he dropped it. He didn't catch it. And that's normally what would happen when you have somebody out of position at first base. But like I said, 9 times out of 10, maybe more than that, they do catch it. So truly, if you have a catcher, a second baseman, a third baseman, a shortstop, an infielder, I would trust them at first, but do not put outfielders there because they will drop them. As you can see with Kyle Schwarber playing out of position at first base. Up the middle, shortstop and second base, those two are interchangeable. Any shortstop can play second, any second baseman can play shortstop. At third base, shortstops and third basemen can play there as well. So those up the middle infielders are really a jack of all trades. You can play them really anywhere across the infield, and you're going to be fine. In summation, catchers are pretty much locked there, except they can play first base. First basemen, don't try and put them anywhere else. We'll delve into it a little bit more, but they're terrible. Shortstops and second basemen can essentially play the entire infield, and then third basemen, they're okay. They're a little bit versatile. And then for the outfield, center fielders can play anywhere. Left field, right field, of course, their namesake position. Right fielders can play left field and vice versa. They can swap interchangeably to the corners. And shortstops really can play just about anywhere across the diamond, whether it be on the grass or on the dirt. But let's look a little deeper and show you guys the nitty-gritty at everything here. So we've got a blank team. This video purposes, we're taking you to out of position school. Now we'll start off with catcher, as I talked about. So a great guinea pig here would be Alejandro Kirk. He's got 99 fielding at catcher, and you see at first base he's got 79 fielding. He lost 20 points, 20%, easy math. That's my kind of shit. Now if you put him at second base, you notice it significantly drops off. So catchers, They can play first base, as we talked about. You're going to receive a 20% reduction on fielding, reaction, and arm accuracy. But really, catcher and first base are the only two positions that you should have those catchers at. Leave it at that. They can play catcher, they can play first. Don't put them in the outfield. Obviously, you never want Alejandro Kirk here. For the most part, you can tell based on the fielding. Now, don't be deceived by the attribute wheel here that is still broken many months into the game. Just press X and you can see actually what they do receive with the out of position or even secondary penalty too. If they're bad, if they're below 60, I probably wouldn't play them there. Again, some positions matter more than others. For example, outfield, I'm really stingy. I gotta have like 70 plus on fielding and hopefully reaction for them to be out there. So you're gonna have to use your own judgment. I'm mentioning where these guys can play, but ultimately it all comes down to the fielding rating. Is it high enough? First baseman, like we talked about, there's really no places to play them. They're 1Bs, true and simple. You couldn't look at Gil Hodges. He's terrible, 23 fielding, 22 reaction, and some of the animations they get. What I'm talking about when playing guys out of position, they get the exact same animations that would be tied to that overall set, that number, that attribute within fielding, reaction, whatever it is. If you've got Jimmy Rollins playing in center field, he's going to play like a center fielder that has the ratings that he receives, that we'll talk about shortly here. So yeah, it's going to be terrible. First baseman, we'll keep Gilworth there at first. There's not really any moving around that I would suggest. Consider them landlocked at that 1B position. Now, second baseman, as we talked about, there's a lot of different spots that they can play. If you move them over to shortstop, they lose 20% of their attributes. At third base, they lose 30%. That is the same reduction in fielding, reaction, and arm accuracy that they incur when putting them at first base. They lose 40% of their defensive ratings at left field and right field, and a 50% hit cut in half when playing them in center field. That's pretty piss poor, right? You look at Chase Utley, he's got maxed out fielding at 99, and if you wanted to play him at shortstop, he still has 79. That is perfectly good. That is almost going to get you Gold Shield. Now, he's locked at 99 for the base card. You can't parallel him up more. He's at parallel 1 for me. It's not going to get higher than 99. So that's the highest he could ever get at any position, whether it's an out of position or not. Even third base, like we talked about, still 69, which is not bad. He does have a first base secondary, so obviously he can play there. Secondary hits are usually like 4 or 5 points. It's a gradual scale, which kind of works based off the higher your fielding is, the more you get hit. As you notice, Chase Utley loses 5 points. If you've got way less fielding, for example, like a Jazz Chisholm, this card's stock is a 66 fielding. He can play third base. He only goes down to 62, so it's kind of weird. It's generally like 4 points. But yeah, second baseman of the outfield, probably not what you want to do. 59 fielding, 59 reaction, and then 73 speed is okay, but you could certainly do better. Absolutely do not put him in center. That is the premier position for tracking balls down to the outfield. Second base, there's definitely some versatility there throughout the infield. I think you can play all those spots reasonably. Probably not the outfield, though. Let's move on to the hot corner. Third base, as we talked about, there is some interchanging of positions within the infield. They only lose 20% of their attributes at first base, which is not bad at all. At second base, they lose 40% of their defensive ratings, 50% in the hole at shortstop, and going to the outfield, that same 50% cut in half their fielding, reaction, and arm accuracy ratings, and they lose 70% in center field. Pretty terrible, once again, for the outfield. We'll look at Scott Rowland, 97 fielding for him. Putting him at the corners, he drops all the way down to 48 fielding, 47 reaction. Most 3Bs aren't going to be that quick either. This is just something I could not recommend less. Don't do it. But within the infield, I mean, 3Bs playing at first, you're going to have pretty much no issues. I know I said Scott Rowland did drop that one ball against me in a weekend classic game. Again, it's really few and far between that happens. And if you're a little bit skeptical, I would say, you know, play it in some conquest games, play it in some event games, not weekend classic games, so you don't have to find it the hard way. But I did have Jose Ramirez as my first baseman in weekend classic, and he didn't make a single error, so I'm happy to report that. You can also see, like, at second base, he's got 58 fielding, 48 at shortstop, maybe reasonable at second. This is pretty much maxed out. It's not good, but I think it is passable. Like, if you needed a Jose Ramirez to play at second base, it sure isn't pretty, but it could work. Shortstop, like we talked about, is basically the pinnacle of this guy can play anywhere. They receive a 10% hit playing at second base, 15% hit at third base, 20% hit at first base. That's the same penalty for putting them in center field. And at most, they only lose 30% when putting them in the corner outfield spots. That really is pretty great, and we've got an excellent guinea pig. A lot of you guys probably familiar with Jimmy Rollins playing out of position. He's got 99 fielding. And just go around the horn, he is 89 at second base. That is almost Diamond Shield, just moving him over a little bit, still playing up the middle. That is perfectly fine. If you want to play him at first base, 79 fielding, that's pretty good. And you know what? The height, a lot of people are going to be worried about that. Don't. It's a video game. They throw balls based on the first baseman's height. In real life, a 5'8" first baseman would be pretty bad of an idea. But in the game, it works just fine. You see at third base, he's got 84 fielding, 73 reaction. He's got, in the outfield, 69 and 60. That's not terrible. In center field, he's got 79 and 69. Pretty good. These shortstops, and again, that's 99 fielding. If we wanted to look at somebody not quite as good, maybe Ethan Holiday, for example. You want to play him in center field? Even he has like 67 fielding. Shortstop, you can play him anywhere. They're Swiss Army knives. Don't play it at catcher. And finally, we'll head to the outfield. Corner outfielders, any outfielders, have to stay in the outfield. None of them can play except if they have a secondary, obviously. No outfielder can play anywhere in the infield. Not first base, certainly not shortstop, definitely not catcher. If they're an outfielder, they've got to stay on the grass. Now, corner outfielders, they can play the other corner spot very well. They're going to receive a 10% hit, which is not bad at all. But do not try and put them in center field. They're going to lose 50% of their stats. Once again, that being fielding, arm accuracy, and reaction. Arm strength doesn't go anywhere. Alex Gordon, for example, he is pretty much the best you're going to see. And obviously, again, he can play in the infield because he has the secondary. If they have the secondary, I feel like that's obvious, right? I shouldn't have to mention that. They can play there if it says it on the card. We're talking about out of position today. Alex Gordon, he's the best defending corner outfielder that has no secondary in other outfield spots. 93 base, you look at what he gets at right field. 83, so he loses 10 right there. 83 fielding, 89 reaction is still pretty damn good, so long as they have the speed to play, right? So any left fielder can play right field and vice versa, but not in center. He's almost maxed out fielding. He drops down to 46 fielding, 49 reaction. Just can't recommend that at all. Don't do it. If it's a corner outfielder, keep them in the corners. They're meant to be there. Timeout time. And then finally, for center fielders, this one's easy. Any center fielder can play any outfield position, no matter if they have the secondary listed or not. I'll showcase this with Brenton Doyle. He is maxed out on 99 fielding. You see, moves to right field, he has 94, which is the same penalty as if he was in a secondary. You can see that with Pete Crow Armstrong. If we moved him here, he's got 94, loses 5. And this all honestly kind of frustrates me because this stuff is not explicitly said anywhere in the game, you know. It says no secondaries, but it is quite literally the same penalty as if he did have a secondary. So you might as well just list that he can play there, because it's scary when you see that out of position tag. You're like, oh, okay, well, he can't play there. Yes, he can. Any center fielder can play anywhere in the outfield. And that is sort of how we get here, where I've got my team right now, what I would call my best possible team. We've got out of position Buxton, a center fielder who can't play the corner. Yes, he can. We've got Francisco Lindor, a shortstop who can't play second base. Got 89 fielding, 84 reaction. He plays extremely well there. Jose Ramirez, my favorite 5'9" first baseman, does a great job at 1B for me. Don't be scared of the out of position tags as long as you follow the out of position Bible and remember the reductions that you see on fielding, reaction, and arm accuracy. As long as they've got good ratings, they can play there. And hopefully this video helped realize some of these things for you. I was a bit of a skeptic at the whole putting guys at 1B this year because it hadn't worked for the past couple. It worked pretty damn well this year. I'm curious if they're going to make changes next year to this, because it's a little cheesy, I guess. You know, they clearly don't want people to do this if they're cutting secondary so much, but you've got a lot more versatility within your team, a lot more choice than you probably think so. And hopefully this helps you flesh out your team so you can have the best hitters and you don't have to constantly wait for them to drop this position that you need. You can just have Jose Ramirez play first base. You can have Francisco Lindor play center field for you, and it'll all work out happy. Thank you guys so much for watching this one, as always, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.